Alrighty, and welcome back to another edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. I'm your host, Tom Johnston. I'm joined again by the one and only LaMarr Fields. How you doing this evening or this afternoon?
Pretty good.
That's good. Well, there has been baseball is, starting to make the stretch run now. And there's one thing I wanted to talk about in particular because this has been a whole storyline all season and involves Aaron Judge. He's on pace right now to maybe get the most home runs in a season. He has in the 50s, and by the way he is swinging the bat, it it looks like it could be achievable. But this guy was also earlier in the season in negotiations with the Yankees to avoid arbitration and everything like that. LaMarr, what are your thoughts so far about this entire situation?
Uh, Tough situation for the Yankees, and it's played out just fine for Aaron Judge. You bet on yourself, not signing a contract too early. You put up a monster year, got a chance to hit 60 plus homers, and Yankees got to show him the money now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's I actually kind of find it ironic how this all turns out because, Judge is the guy that has come up through their system and everything. And, you know, it's crazy to see what this guy is capable of doing. But hey, sometimes it comes at a price. But see, here's the thing though, okay, don't you think now, here's another question that just came up in my head. Considering the history the Yankees have at spending big bucks and big contracts to say the least, don't you think that they wouldn't have a problem with actually doing this? Because you could say that there's a history in a bad one with it with big contracts being, signed and everything like that. But if you're a franchise that's notorious for doing it, why wouldn't you mind?
They shouldn't mind now. They got, like I said, they pretty much got no choice with the numbers he's putting up. The numbers speak for itself. Still got a lot of years left. He's a good power hitter. He plays defense. I mean, you're a franchise player. They got no choice but to lock him up. Can't just let him go. Then
Yeah, yeah, we're starting to see how certain teams that don't use building blocks to build their teams and organizations, how that could come back to haunt them if they don't do that. But I think Aaron Judge is worth every penny. I do. He's a very reliable guy. I think that the Yankees should honestly live up to the hype whenever it comes to actually signing this guy because you know why not just have that like foundation just built and be built on to transfer to the next person that comes and doesn't necessarily replace or anything, but takes the wings and stuff. But I feel this way, okay? You have to be willing to just compromise, but also be willing to pay because at the end of the day, you are the New York Yankees. You're one of the most valuable franchises, if not the most valuable franchise in all of MLB. You got the money. I mean, you're notorious for actually, having big payrolls. Now, whatever people want to argue about luxury tax and this, that, the other is kind of irrelevant at this point. It's about knowing who you have right now and knowing that these kinds of players don't come around so often. But it's worth the investment, short term and long term, because there's still value on either side of the spectrum. It just matters of what value is valued more in the
yep.
long run.
Mm-hmm.
And on another note, there's a lot of talk about Albert Pujols, LaMarr. He has said that this is his last year. He is creeping ever so closer to 700 home runs. And I know Pujols has said throughout the season that, regardless if he gets the milestone or not, he's going to retire. Others say, if he doesn't, he's going to come back. What do you make of this whole scenario?
Yeah, he's close to 700, so I'm thinking he wants to get there. I think if he, I think if he gets 700, this year, he'd probably go ahead and retire. But if he 1 or 2 off or something like that, he may come back and just play for another year. He's not playing every day or nothing like that. So I mean, he'll be able to keep his body fresh, and as long as he can still swing the bat and still got strong hand-eye coordination, go for it, man.
Yeah, I kind of look at it this way. I don't see Pujols coming back. I see Pujols being a man of his word because Pujols has already said no matter if I do get it or not. But I think that there's some motivation for him to actually go and get that because it's just like, I think what Albert never thinks of, and this is something not a lot of us probably don't think of until we're actually in that situation, is man, you're so close, and you still have some gas left in the tank. Like, do you actually like want to really attempt this, or are you just satisfied with where you are? Because there's only going to be so many things in life you get to do once, and just looking off the career that Pujols has had, and we all know how dangerous this guy has been throughout his career with homering against several teams and having, history against teams that certain teams would probably wish he didn't have against them. I think that overall it would put a very big testimony to how good this guy was. But at the end of the day, you know, I just think he's going to get it. I do. I think that something is propelling his momentum right now in a lot of ways. I've never actually seen Pujols go on this kind of like tear in his career at all, but I honestly think that in the long run, we might see him making some very fine history just because he is Albert Pujols, and there are times he delivers in the unexpected moments.
Yeah.
And well, let's put it this way. There's been some, I don't know how much we talked on the topics from last week, like with because I know we talked a little bit about the Angels and them being sold, because I've been looking more into it, and I've seen that it was about development and everything. But, you know, I actually kind of want to touch on this, okay? If you're Arte Moreno or you're a new owner for the Angels, and you have the team in the position that they're in, okay? Because bear in mind, they're paying Trout a boatload of money. It's like in the $20 to $30 million range a year. But then you also have Shohei Ohtani, because I'm under the impression he's either a free agent after this season or next season.
Yeah, I think that's the case too. I think it's after next season.
And, you got to ask yourself, okay, like Ohtani's going to be 27. You know, does this make sense? Is it right? Or do you actually think of or consider trading Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani? Because let's put it this way. I mean, the price to get either or is going to be an enormous amount, but it's crazy. It's crazy whenever you got a superstar like Ohtani that's doing what he's doing in his 20s, in his mid to late 20s, I should add, and you have Trout that's just been phenomenal. Although the scary part about Trout is what has transpired news recently about his back. It's kind of risky no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah, it's risky. But that team need a facelift. I mean, if you trade just one of them, you can have some building blocks to rebuild your farm system and get some other young assets. You trade both, you can get a whole bunch of assets back. It's hard to say. If you want to keep one, I would push to keep an Ohtani and Trout. I mean, Trout's an awesome baseball player, maybe the best player in the league, but he gets hurt too much, and sooner or later, if you ain't winning with these stars, you got to move on, man. You got to turn the page, start filling out your team because that roster bad roster.
We're going to talk a little college football today, too, just to spice up the podcast, just because I've been excited about college football. But I actually what you just said, LaMarr, made me pivot to a quote that I heard from Joel Klatt this past week on Thursday. It was against the Pitt. I mean, not the Pitt, but the Purdue in the Penn State football game, where he says, it can be both good and bad that somebody is with you this long. But if you really haven't advanced past, or like if you ever really advance to the next level, meaning, okay, if a quarterback's been with a program for 6 years, but he's out of eligibility, but he hasn't advanced, it's likely that means he's just not good enough for the next level or whatever the case is. And you really have to wonder, that does necessarily having Trout and Otani on the same team make the Angels better, or does it actually, might it be beneficial to actually get rid of one or the other? It depends on value. I mean, you got to ask a lot of people is would they want to take on that stuff, like the contract wise and everything like that. But more importantly, it's I don't know, but I know that it popped into my head from what Joel Klatt said, and I was referencing how like the Angels, they really haven't gotten to that next step yet with both Trout and Otani. They've gotten to like the playoffs once or so with Trout, but what are they doing with Trout and Otani?
And a lot of it is just roster construction. You got Trout and Otani at the top, and it's a big drop off after that. A big drop
Mm-hmm.
off. You got teams like the Yankees who stack. They got Judge, but they got Stanton, the Mayhew, all like in a long line. Ain't no big drop like it is Trout, Otani, and everybody else way down here.
Yeah, and that's where it shows
Yeah,
that depth matters
yeah.
and stuff. I mean, I think people are starting to realize, fans that want to say, "Oh, why does that matter?" I think it starts to show whenever, hey, when I need to go deeper, like I can plug another person into this,
Yeah.
I can plug another player into this role, and we won't miss a beat. But where are you actually going to find that if you actually can't find that? So, but on some other news, because there's really not a lot of baseball news going on right now. But I mean, there is and there isn't. But it's just I'm not gonna lie, seeing football be transitioning into season now, it kind of takes the interest off of baseball for whatever reason. But LaMarr, I know college football has kicked off this week. There have been a couple games that have caught my attention. I know I've been up primarily all morning looking at highlights of certain games and all that have happened. But if you could pinpoint to it, what would you say is the game that has stood out to you the most in week number one, officially week one in the college football season?
Utah and Florida played a good game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoyed watching it. Utah came in ranked number 7. They lost to unranked Florida team, but I mean that's not surprising, but it's not because Florida may be unranked, but they still got talent out there, the SEC. So I mean, it was a good chance for Utah to go out there and win. It would have been a big win for the Pac-12. It didn't happen, but still a long season to go. Just gotta keep turning the page, man. So you got football needs for it, man. It's always the next game, always the next game.
Yeah, I actually will agree. That's the one game I actually really found that it was very well balanced, even though you had a team from the Pac-12 taking on a team from the SEC. But I think it goes to show that, the Pac-12 can say something actually. I mean, a lot of people haven't thought. I mean, give granted now they just started to have some really good fundamental teams that could compete, but it goes to show that it doesn't even have to be an Oregon that competes. It could be a Utah, but I think that it does help. I really actually enjoyed that game a lot. The back and forth, the well balanced that it was, and everything like that. And that's kind of nice to see, especially now. I get it; it's Florida. I mean, if Paul was on, he would be. I don't know, but yeah, I mean that was the game that I really enjoyed. Now I will say this: a recap of Penn State and Purdue. It surprised me how that game turned out, just because, and allow me to come at it from this perspective. I've witnessed now that it doesn't matter what team it is that you go in conference to. Conference play on the road is always tough, no matter what conference you're in. In the Big Ten, it is even that. I now recall Penn State having two back-to-back road openers in the Big Ten where it's been hard, but they've fought through it and have gotten the victory. And if I'm honest with people, if there's a player to watch for now on that defensive side, it is Joey Porter Jr. I mean, the way Purdue kept attacking receivers that he was covering, but the way he was able to show that he's not losing his footing, that's pretty scary. And the fact of the matter is he was one-on-one most of the time, or a fair amount of the time, I should say, with Purdue, one of the top targets, Chris Jones. So, yeah, but I will say this. After 11 years of it not happening per se or so, I was overall, as a college football fan, thrilled to see the way that Pitt and WVU battled it out in the backyard brawl. That set an attendance record at Acrisure Stadium of 70-some thousand. And, I tell people, like, that's crazy. A lot of people would think that, in Pittsburgh, the big draws are the concerts and everything like that. But I tell people, for Pitt and WVU to renew it and for that crowd to be drawn, I think that goes to show that people have missed it, that game in particular, especially the alumni and the fan bases of both Pitt and WVU. But overall, I think it shows that, certain rivalries shouldn't have died whenever they have. It's great to keep the old ones going. And, just to give people a hint about WVU's schedule in the future, next year, I believe it is, they have both Pitt, Penn State, and Duquesne. So it's three Pennsylvania schools, two located in Pittsburgh, that are facing them. But, I mean, it's going to be a crazy future for college football for sure. But what about you, LaMarr?
Yeah, I can't wait. Got the game today and the game tomorrow. So still got a lot of football left to be played, and I'm just glad it's here.
Oh yeah.
Finally.
Now I will also say this: I am expect the Ohio State Notre Dame game to end the way that it did, because I actually want to touch on that for a minute too, because a lot of people per se wanted to doubt Notre Dame. 17.5 point underdogs or 17 point underdogs. They only lose the game by what, 12 or so points or so,
11 or
maybe.
something like that.
Yeah. And, I think it goes to show you that, hey, both teams were excited. I mean, I also seen how powerful Ohio State's defense can be. And we can probably also agree that the Ohio State offense needs a little bit of work itself. That just, to me, I get it. A win is a win because not everyone's going to always be pretty,
Man,
but then there are certain things.
it's the first game of the season. They're gonna be rusty. When you play teams like Ohio State, you gotta score points.
Oh yeah.
You was up 10-7 and you went stale. I'll say, yeah, if they don't score another touchdown, because then it was 10-7 and boom, 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 21-10, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Totally.
mean,
Oh, that's
yeah.
something you got
So
to do against Ohio State.
yeah, Notre Dame had their chances. They just couldn't convert. But first game of the season.
Now, here's an even funnier fruit for a thought, because apparently Cade McNamara, the quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines, didn't think that there was a quarterback competition at Michigan, because I guess Harbaugh is trying to rotate them and see who does what. And he says, yeah, Cade's performance was great, but JJ's going to start for us next game. And, everybody kind of just started to like react in a weird way, as in like, wait, there's still a quarterback competition at Michigan? Like, based off of last year's success, you got to ask yourself that you had Cade McNamara as the quarterback last year and you had that success. Why not just flat outright go with him? Or if you look at, JJ McCarthy, a highly touted recruit himself.
Yeah. I mean, stuff I want to touch on Oregon got trampled by Georgia.
Oh yeah.
That was
Yes.
ridiculous.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that game?
I mean, like I said, it's another chance for the Pac-12 to who they compete with these SEC teams, and Oregon was just terrible. Bo Nix played terrible. I'm like, I mean, I get Bo Nix got the experience, but Oregon got two talented young quarterbacks on their roster who I think should be playing. Jay Butterfield and Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
But Bo Nix is what he is.
Yeah, I noticed that the announcers yesterday started raving about how Oregon gets people to gets players to come play for them because they're like, oh yeah, they hear some people go for the traditions and I loved how Herbie and Chris were talking about that and I'm just like, yeah, well, I mean, okay, Oregon has a nice brand, but even still, it's yeah, that is kind of awful the way that happened, especially after them going to Ohio State the previous year and actually showing people that, oh yeah, we can actually beat an Ohio State. Like, then why couldn't you beat Georgia?
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's a whole bunch of moving parts, new teams. I mean, new offense, different players. But still, go out there and compete. Don't get blew out 49 to. Yeah, it was bad.
It was. I think it was like 51 or something like that. But yeah, it was terrible. It was because I know that there are two more games on the docket. I know LSU plays tonight. They brought new coach makes his debut, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see what LSU does because
Yeah,
LSU
that's what I'm
does
looking.
have talent.
Yeah, looking forward to that game.
What are you looking forward to most about that game?
Just want to see what LSU gonna do. Have they announced the starting quarterback yet?
I don't think that they have.
Yeah, because yeah, 'cause they got a couple of young freshmen there. I want to see. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but they got I believe they got Jaden Daniels
Mm-hmm.
from Arizona State last year. So he, I want you to see if he gets in the game, if he starts, what he can do.
They also have, I believe they have Noah Kane, the Penn State running back transfer too. So it's going to be interesting to
Yeah,
see how Kane, because that's a solid addition for them. I'm not going to lie, a very
yeah,
solid addition, but it's a matter of what they do with that.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely. And I know Clemson plays on Monday. They always seem to get the best game on the primest time whenever it comes to this stuff. But I mean, yeah, what are your thoughts on that game? I know that game is going to be tomorrow night, and yeah.
Clemson, I want to see if they quarterback DJ. I can't pronounce his last name, so I ain't even gonna try. But I want to see if he gotten better and can lead Clemson back to the promised land. Clemson
Mm-hmm.
always gonna have some talent at the field level, but that quarterback will have to take his game to another level for them to get to the level they want, get to a championship, get back to a championship level.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You already know. As long as Dabu Sweeney is there, Clemson's going to know how to compete and recruit. They're going to be a prominent team in the ACC for quite some time, unless some major conference realignment hits. But I also know that there's one other big thing to talk about, and that's that the committee finally approved of an expansion for the college football playoff. I know that a lot of people have been saying that this it's been a long time coming and stuff, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that, LaMarr? And do you think it actually makes the field more interesting, to say the least?
I believe it does. I think they would do an 8 team. They went four more teams than I originally thought, which I think is good. It's gonna be teams left out, but I mean, 12 teams. You can't argue with that. I mean, I think it fits perfectly, and some other teams gonna have a chance to win now, and gonna be put up or shut up time.
Oh yeah, because I was seeing a format yesterday, and the top four teams would get bye weeks or off weeks or whatever you might have it, and then the rest is history. But I think that this is a nice move. Now I am surprised about 12 teams. I actually thought it was going to be eight myself, but you know. I guess they said, if we go to eight, we might as well go to 12 because then people might complain about why you didn't go to 12. And, you know, I guess in the end, it makes sense. I mean, now the Pac-12 can't really say that they would be the worst conference, even if they still did only get like one in, but they would probably still try to get two in this format. But yeah, I'm actually excited. I think that this should have happened maybe a little bit sooner rather than like later. But at least it's happening. People can't complain that they're not doing nothing.
Yeah, gonna be fun time.
Oh, it is now. I know it's early in the season in college football, but based off of who's played so far, who are you most excited to see that you would say like, okay, this team is gonna be a steady team at least in the top 10 or top 15?
Um, Too early for me, man. It's one game
Yeah.
in. Georgia, Alabama, all them gonna be good. I just want to see. So let's revisit that question in about 3 or
Yeah.
4 weeks. Yeah,
Oh yeah. But
I look
it's
for.
it's been a fun ride.
I watch all the games, man. Every game that come on TV is recorded, and over the next week, I'll skim through everything just to see, watch them all, man. Try to skim through as much as I can, and
That is what I do too.
yeah,
It never hurts. Never hurts
yep,
because it's always fun to see all the other matchups.
yeah, unlimited DVR is a blessing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's always a blessing, especially whenever you have a
yeah,
nice sports package or whatever to
yeah.
actually watch all that. That's even a bigger blessing. But
Good old
I know
YouTube
that's all
TV.
that I've had. Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
that. I have
yeah.
that.
I love it, dude. Everybody
Uh,
talking about streaming on YouTube TV. I can't you can't beat a good sports package and limited DVR.
yeah, that is true. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. I know that we touched on a little college football, which is all right. It's in the start of the season, and it's very exciting that it's back, which is why we touched on it a bit. But definitely news about the Angels and the Pujols maybe getting to 700. We think that will be happening. But for LaMarr Fields, I'm Tom Johnston. We'll see you guys on the next.